So the Sage basics are so much more in depth. Diagnosis is their cure. Asuna is what Asuna always is. Removes detrimental status effects. Prognosis is their medica. Ukrazia, when casted, will give a shield effect to either Diagnosis or Prognosis. I think it also changes the effect of your attack abilities too. So normally, let's get rid of this for a moment. So normally your attack dosis is like this. We'll see the description of it. It reads, deals unexpected damage with a potency of 300, restores HP to targets under the effect of Cardian. But when we use Acrasia, it changes that effect, and it deals unexpected damage over time. So it becomes a dot, a status effect. So that's something you'll want to always put on groups or bosses or whatever beforehand. Really good to know. And then obviously when you use Cardia, I put Cardia on myself. Let me put Cardia on my party member here. And then we attack. I'm healing them with each attack I do. So, like I've mentioned before, this is basically the job that kind of answers the problem that people have with healing. Usually a lot of people want healers to DPS and heal. Some DPS or some healers don't feel comfortable DPSing and they prefer to just heal, save their mana for that, because sometimes they can't. You have to kind of pinpoint how much damage you do to ensure you don't run out of mana damaging, and then when it comes time for healing, you don't have enough for it, etc. So some people just avoid doing DPS altogether, but with Sage, it actually complements your attacks by still healing your party members when you still use Cardia. So you put Cardia on your tank, and you start DPSing, and now you're still actually dealing damage, but healing at the exact same time. Let's go over... What is Zoe? Increases the healing magic potency of your next healing spell by 50%. So we're going to get a flat heal on our character. We're going to do it 3 times. So 4,600 crit, 3,100, 3,200. Let's get one more normal. And 3,100. Now we're going to use Zoe. And that was 4,600. So that was pretty much like a crit heal, but normal. Alright, last ability I went over was Zoe. Moving on to Ixochol. Restores own HP and the HP of all nearby party members. Cure potency 400 and restores 7% of maximum MP. It costs 1 Ader's Gall. I see, so that uses the gauge. So once your gauge... What? Zoe? Instead of Zoe? Zoe.
Yeah, that's
Well,
how we spell England and Zoe. I mean, that's how we spell Zoe in England.
interesting. Yeah, it's probably correct then, because I think Final Fantasy kind of goes off British proper English. The way we spell Zoe is Z-O-E-Y, Zoe. But, alright, Zoe, yeah, that's probably what it's called. So, Inochul is your AoE gauge spending ability. So it doesn't cost any MP. All it does is consumes one of your gauge status effects, which is called, what is it called again? Ader's Gall. Adder's Gall. Costs 1 Adder's Gall. And then Druachol is the single target heal that costs 1 gauge. Physis 2 gradually restores own HP and the HP of all target party members. Increases HP recovered by healing actions by 10% for the duration of 10 seconds. Nice. And then the gradual restore HP lasts 15 seconds. So that's just like your free heal. Sweet. And also buffs all current healing. So if somebody's making a big pull, apply that onto them. Now you have better heals on that single target. Well, on everybody, really. because it's an AoE ability. So that covers up my R2 hotbar. Moving on to some of the damaging abilities, we have the Dosis. Like I mentioned before, if you use a Krasia on Dosis, instead of doing a single target hit, you're going to convert it into a dot that you apply a status effect that will gradually deplete the target's HP. And like I also mentioned before, if I put Cardio on somebody on my group, and I start attacking, it will start gradually restoring their HP as well. Up next, we have Soteria. Increases the cure potency of Cardian effects granted by you by 50%. So that basically buffs the passive heals that I do while DPSing. So I'm going to put Cardio on you. It is Sotera. Put Sotera. And now the cure potency that you get should be a little bit more. Yeah, before it was like 1,000 and something. Now it's 1,500 and something. So additional 500 is nice. Sotera should be on your L2X on your hotbar. Phlegma. Deals unexpected damage to the target and all... oh, so this is basically your AoE ability. And that's an AoE ability at the target's location, I believe. Not at your location. It's something you can only cast once. Interesting. So the only AoE ability that you can actually cast repeatedly would be the Disgracia, I believe is the pronunciation of that. So it's better off keeping... I'm actually going to switch out then Phlegma with Disgracia. Actually, let me see what the other additional effects are. So, maximum charge. Yeah, I'm going to swap that out with Disgracia. So then we have our long range single target ability, and then we have our up close AoE ability. All the lasers. Let's see if Ukrazia affects that. It does not change the effect of that. Let's put Cardio on you. See if when I do this it gives you heals. It does give you heals like normal. Very good. Alright. Moving on to Tarachol. Tarachol restores own or target party members' HP. Cure potency 700. Reduces target's damage taken by 10%. Effect cannot be stacked with Carachol. So if the tank is pulling or whatever, we're going to pretend in this instant that you, Bella, are said tank. I'm going to put it on you. And now you have a shield with some heals. And you're protected for a little bit. Yeah, not bad. And then the cooldown for that ability is 45 seconds. That is not bad at all. Carachol reduces the damage taken by self and nearby party members by 10%. So this is like the equivalent of the, what we would say, Sacred Grounds from Astrologian. Basically all of the bubble effects that a healer would have, because the trial boss is about to do like some big ultimate ability. You'd use Carachol as a sage. Now everybody's protected and not going to take full damage. Haima erects a magic barrier around self or target party member that absorbs damage equivalent to a heal of 300 potency. Grants 5 stacks of Hymatanon. When the barrier is completely absorbed, a stack of Hymatanon is consumed and a new barrier is applied. When the healing effect duration expires, a healing effect is then applied. So that's another ability that's really good to put on your tank or whatever when they're making a pull. Immediately cast it on me too. So.
It's funny how he did it in sync.
Yeah. And then moving on to Icarus. This is basically, I'm in an AoE, my target party member is out of the AoE, I'm flying to them. So it gives you some mobility for your class. Onto the second hotbar. Phlegma, we already dealt with that. That's basically a free Well, it's not necessarily free. It's 400 MP cost, but it's a casted AoE ability that deals damage. And obviously, if you have a Guardian effect on anybody, then also restores some health. But once you cast it, it goes on cooldown. It's not something that you can repeatedly cast. It has 2 charges, but once the charges are depleted, you have to wait those 45 seconds to collect another charge. Pepsis, which I keep wanting to call it Pepsi, restores own HP and the HP of nearby target members by removing Eucrasian Diagnosis and Eucrasian Prognosis effects granted by you. So, Eucrasia, when you cast it and then do a Diagnosis, not only does it give the heal, but also gives a shield. Basically, with Pepsis, aka Pepsi, it removes that barrier effect for a stronger heal. So because Elena had that effect on her, it simply removed the barrier and then just transformed the barrier into actual heals. And then that effect goes on cooldown for 30 seconds. Not bad. Toxicon. Deal an unexpected damage to target and all enemies nearby with a potency of 240 for the first enemy and 50% less for all remaining enemies. So this is just another AoE ability that you can cast.
But can you cast it? Because it's grayed out on my
It's grayed out for me too.
And I've tried using other abilities to see what
Hatterston
brings it
costs.
up.
Maybe that's something we have to complete a quest to learn how to do, perhaps. But yeah, at this current time, I can't display that ability. And then the final ability that we have on when you first unlock the Sage is Gyro, which is basically your resurrection. It's a shame I can't display that. Hey, Bella, switch to your blue mage.
Alright, reset the striking on me.
Yep.
Because I can't switch.
It's
back.
reset.
Thank you.
And also for people that aren't aware, when you hit a striking dummy, you don't have to run away from it. In order for all the music stuff to stop, you can just hit your... I'm on PlayStation 5, so for me it's square. But you just hit whatever toggle button is for whatever platform you're playing on. And go down to reset striking dummy enmity. Alright, so you're going to want to cast Final Sting. There you go. Alright, cool. Now we have a test subject. Good.
Oh,
Self-destruct works too. I'm going to use a gyro without swift cast so we can just see what it looks like casting.
oh, that's nice.
Very pretty. And that's pretty much the rundown on Sage when you first unlock the class. So, Diagnosis is your cure. Prognosis is your medica. Zoe is your damaging ability. Decrazia is your damaging AoE ability. Zoe, or Zoe, increases your healing effect for 1. And your Carachol is like your main barrier ability that you use. And then Icarus is your mobility ability. And then the rest is a bunch of in-depth shenanigans that are really cool. So this is definitely a really good class to learn. I feel like a lot of end-game healers are going to enjoy this class because this allows them to not only DPS, but also heal while they're DPSing. So it's really cool. It answers an issue that a lot of players had for heals. Alright, and that's it. Oh, I almost forgot. Got to show off the battle stance and the victory. Very nice, and victory. So So where Reaper had my favorite battle stance, I didn't like the victory too much. I mean, I didn't dislike it, but I preferred the battle stance. For Sage, I prefer its victory over the battle stance. Seeing all of the little weapon pieces floating around like that, it kind of gives me like some Magneto vibes. It looks really cool. And that concludes it. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.